Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. #Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. Let's get to it. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, my good friend and mentor, Scott Howell. Thank you for being on the show, Scott.
Brother, I appreciate you having me so much. I don't know, I guess we could just both flip a coin to see which one's the other one's mentor. But I want to tell you something before we get started today, Andy, and that is that there are not too many days in my life. I'm not going to say every day, but I'd say at least every other day, when you, yourself, and your family and your business don't run through my mind at least for a split second. So I appreciate you saying something about me being a mentor to you, but I can promise you the feeling is mutual going back your way. There are not very many insurance agents in America that I respect. Well, there's none that I respect more than you, but above and beyond that, and I think you probably don't give yourself enough credit, there's probably not any others that I enjoy watching speak to a group as much as I enjoy you speaking. You have a little bit of that thing that I have where you can boil things down into their simplest element, and your ability to convey ideas and convey your thoughts to people on stage, man, I'll just say this. If I was a state director of a Big I or a PIA or some event, and you guys want to have a great speaker come to your event, hire this man right here. Because when he gets on stage, and I know you and I come from such different places and such different environments of where we live. We're on the you're on the North Pole and I'm on the South Pole, okay? But if you want to hire somebody that, as we say down here in the South, can get the hay down where the goats can get to it, bring this man right here on, because he can flat out do it. And I just love you so much, and I only want good things for you, and I only want success for you and your family, because you deserve it, man. You deserve it.
I love you, and that's a great way to start, and thank you. And if anyone's looking for a sponsor, Scott will be doing all my read-ins from now on, so I appreciate it. But the feelings are mutual, and I love you, and that's why I'm happy that you've agreed to come on and share a little bit about your story.
100%.
Because if there's anything that I know, it's that the hustle runs deep. And as I said when I reached out to you, and I've said as I've reached out to everyone, as we've just experienced and we'll probably experience more, we'll likely laugh, we'll probably cry. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that we will be able to inspire other people to hustle just through a little bit more of a difficult time than they would have before by hearing the stories of our guests. And that's really the mission, is to inspire others. And there's really very few people that I know who will inspire more than you. And with that, I do want to say, and I should get better about opening with this, and that is, I know that you served our country, and I want to say thank you, because I've told you this before, a better man than I am for doing that. And I know that I can speak for my family, my friends, my community, and everyone who's listening when we say thank you for doing that.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
So let's jump in. What do we need to know about Scott Howell that's sitting right in front of me now, in front of us, or the listeners that are listening to, that has shaped you most about your upbringing, that got you to where you are today, sitting in that chair?
Well, I've kind of touched on this a little bit in other podcasts, but I think the thing that probably shaped me the most in my life relative to, bringing me up to today and owning an agency, owning now 6 agencies, because we are in the process of opening up finally after 15 years in my hometown that I grew up in. And I've told people I'm selling insurance to every son of a in Hamilton, Alabama. You can get ready for that. That's happening.
Is there a billboard?
Not yet, but there probably will be. And the reason I say that is not to be arrogant or not to be cocky, but I will say this, take it any way you want to take it. But my family, and I'm talking about going back to my great-great-grandfather and his father, have built up a lot of capital, a lot of altitude in that town, and have always been model citizens, done what we're supposed to, contributed in a positive way. My dad has been the municipal judge in Hamilton, Alabama for going on 15 years. You know, my sister and I both graduated college there. She's one of the best lawyers in America, works for the largest law firm as a partner in the world. And I tell people all the time, she got all the brains and looks in the family. But we have built up a lot of capital there. And I have been very thoughtful in not doing that. I know a lot of people are listening to this right now and they're like, well, why the hell did you wait 15 years to do that?
That was going to be my next question.
And the answer to that question is very simple. I had people that I loved who were my mentors that one owned really the only game in town as far as an independent insurance agency. He was a mentor of mine and he was like a father to me. And it always kind of sat sideways with me that I would go in there and start taking business from them. Because you know damn well that's what would have happened to some degree. Now, they would have kept a lot of business. But last year, like so many independent insurance agencies, they sold out. And he is now retired. I don't think he works there at all anymore. But even if he does, he's done the thing, right? So I don't have that, that issue anymore. And then above and beyond that, my high school football coach was one of the very last State Farm agency owner kids that got to take over his dad's State Farm agency. And he is 70 years old now. He's in the fourth quarter being a State Farm agent. And my thing about that is, I've held the rope as long as I can hold it not to open up. So here we come. And I had to go back home Sunday for somebody else who was very important in my life, my junior high football coach. And I pull up in my black Toyota Sienna minivan to the funeral, the church, the little country church that his funeral was at. And there was probably, I don't know, a couple hundred people there. And as I pull up and get out of my vehicle, lo and behold, who pulls up beside me but my high school football coach, State Farm agent. And that was a little awkward. It was a little awkward of a conversation because I brought it up. You know me, I run into burning buildings, not out of them. And I knew because of some stuff that had been posted on Facebook that he probably knew I was coming to Hamilton with this agency. So, I think I left out your question. Your question was, what has shaped me? Well, I grew up playing ball, and I didn't really care about girls. I just cared about ball. I wanted to play football, baseball, basketball. And then as I got a little older, basketball kind of took over, but I did play high school football through my senior year. Having a dad that was one of those old school, and I love my dad more than anything in this world, as I know you do your dad. And he was an old school dad, man. He was going to yell and scream at you. And I played for a high school football coach that was a blood on the saddle guy, drug me off my senior year, drug me off the field at the hash mark. We were playing the number one team in the state at that time, Fayette High School. Drags me off the damn hash mark by my face mask. And it's so funny because when I got to the Marine Corps, everybody talked about how they were going to yell and scream at you, and they did. But, it was just another Tuesday at my house or on the football field or the basketball court for me. That's just back in the late 80s and early 90s. I graduated in May of 1990. A lot of coaches still had that mentality of blood on the saddle. And if you don't do something right, I'm going to chew your ass. And don't worry. And this was something that I heard from my middle school football coach whose funeral I just went to. And then last week I heard it from Nick Saban on a press conference he was doing. But he said, when I stop yelling at you is when you need to get worried.
That's right. That's right.
And he used to say that all the time. As long as I'm yelling at you, you're all right. And I do think that there was some real value in my life of growing up that way because there's not many clients that can call and chew my and me. It not just be water off a duck's back to me. I don't care. I can promise you I've been chewed worse by better.
So I want to drill down on that. I think I know the answer, but so do you think that the people who don't grow up that way or don't have, it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent, but don't have those people in their life that I think what I'm hearing you're saying is even though the delivery was harsh, part of that harsh delivery is it pushes you to a level of grit and hustle that you probably would not access in a softer environment.
Correct.
For someone to say they got to the Marine Corps and it was not a walk in the park, but wasn't shocking to me, being, as you said, from the North Pole when you're from the South Pole, from New York City, never stepping foot in the military. I have to believe that what that means is that those people who pushed you that hard led you to be able to push down walls that were in front of you much easier than anyone else.
100%. Yeah, I think there is a certain amount. It's so funny because I have, well, that's one tattoo. There, 3 tattoos. So on the back of this arm, I have grit written on the back of that arm. And I tell people all the time that are just getting into the agency business or whatever, you have to have a lot of grit to make it in this business. And you damn sure better have a lot of grit if you're going to make it in today's market with everybody's premium going up at renewal and people being non-renewed and mad clients. And you have to have a level of grit above and beyond what I think the normal person has to have to enjoy being in this industry, because it is an up at dawn, pride swallowing siege, brother. And I think you're onto something there. I think that the one common denominator or thing that I can tell you about the little bit of success that I've had in this industry is twofold. And I'm going to teach everybody that's listening to this something right now. So go grab a pen and paper, put this on pause, and come back.
I got one. I'm ready.
The number one thing that you have to be an agency owner, above and beyond anything else, is grit, determination, and here comes the big word I wanted everybody to write down: consistency. And I'm going to dovetail that comment into your podcast and what I tell each and every person who calls me who wants to start a podcast. I say the same thing every time, and 99.99 times out of 100, they don't listen to me. But whatever happens with your podcast, whatever happens with this podcast, whatever road this takes you down, and there will be a lot of unintended consequences from this podcast, all will be good, by the way.
I hope so.
But do not stop doing this podcast on whatever schedule that you have until you get to 50 episodes. There's something that happens at 50 episodes, and hardly anybody can ever make it that far. Most people do 10, 12, 5, 3 episodes, and then they either stop doing it altogether or they stop the consistency. So yesterday at 6 a.m., my alarm goes off every morning at 5:30. At 6 a.m., the first thing I do when the clock hits 6:01 is I go check Spotify to make sure the podcast comes out at exactly 6:00 a.m. every Wednesday, like clockwork. 6:01 a.m. comes around, no podcast yesterday. 6:30 rolls around, no podcast comes out yet. So at 7 a.m. yesterday morning, I email Bradley Flowers and Johnny Gwynn, and they know it's my one bugaboo. If you want to piss Scott off, do not have a new episode of the Insurance Guys podcast come out at 6:00 a.m. every single Wednesday, because about half of 3/4 of having a successful podcast is for that sucker to come out. Whatever your schedule is, it comes out like clockwork every time. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, I get an email back. So sorry, I was waiting on something from Bradley. I'll get it out right now. So they know that. They know that's my one bugaboo. And I just think as an agency owner, the first thing you need to have is grit. But inside that, you also have to have the consistency to show up every single day. And as I like to tell my wife before I walk out the door every day, I say, sweetheart, I love you so much. I'll be back this evening. I'm going to go fight dragons now, because that's exactly what it is.
And I think it's like that in any industry. I think that the most successful people, obviously there's some luck. So I think that, everybody in the world who's hit the real top has some luck. But in the end of the day, the people who have the most grit, the most hustle, and are willing to be consistent might not be the richest people in the room, but you have to see success. If
Yeah.
you're willing to grind it out, grit it out, hustle it out, and be consistent, not, as you said, not just for 1, 2, or 3 reps, but for 50 or 100, or in a business world, cold calling, things like that, 1,000 reps,
Right.
you have to see success.
100%. Just stay the course. The next thing I would tell people, hire great people. I have made some hires over the last 3 years that were not great fits for our agency from a cultural standpoint. And I told somebody in an event a couple of weeks ago in North Carolina that it probably set me back 5 years from being able to retire because of the hires I made. And I'm not going to say the word bad hires. I don't know that, whatever, but I don't know that necessarily they were bad hires, but just some of the things that have happened that have kind of made us go 2 steps backwards to go forward, and things we're having to clean up and things we're having to redo and all of that. I would say it's probably cost me, those 3 hires have probably cost me being in the industry at least another 5 years.
Do you think you should have let them go earlier? Did you not see the signs? Did you?
Yeah. Yes.
Or you're, too
Yeah,
nervous to let it go?
that's a little bit of a loaded question, in that one goes before a grand jury indictment on October the 23rd.
Right,
Today's
we're
the
gonna
12th.
leave. Right, we're gonna leave that one out. You're right.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave that one out.
So that one was just a plain criminal type situation. The others, yes, I should have. There were signs. There were signs.
So what do you think held you back?
I think it was the fear of, maybe not fear. I don't know if fear is the right word, but you know how hard it is to hire people, and now you got to replace that person, and you got to go find somebody else. And I think it was myself and my business partner Clinton Orr kept saying to ourselves, the positives outweigh the negatives.
Got it.
And what we should have been saying, or what I should have been saying to myself, was good, bad, or indifferent, just from a culture standpoint, these people are not the right fit.
And they're definitely setting us back in that area. So therefore.
Correct. So, yeah, I learned a valuable lesson there. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little gun shy about hiring new people now. I told somebody the other day, I'm in our Athens office today because we're shorthanded. But I said, man, I tell you, it's tough for me now to even think about hiring somebody else, because we have such a good team. We all love each other. We care about each other. We work well together. Do you really want to bring an unknown into this group to be tested to see if they have what it takes to fit our organization from a culture standpoint? I'll give you a great example. Last night, 3 or 4 of us with our spouses went to the Willie Nelson concert in Huntsville, Alabama last night. And, it truly is. It feels like a family now that, we've kind of shedded off the others that kind of weren't a good fit. Not that they were necessarily bad people or anything like that. They just weren't a good fit. And, it's going to be tough for me to hire somebody else for a little while anyway. It's going to have to be the right fit.
I think that's an interesting thing about business in general, or people in general, because in order for you to have the team that you've described that's become a family, you also had to hire those people who turned out to be great. So the fact that the negative experience, which by the way, I totally sympathize with, and I think that this is part of the human condition, is that how many employees do you have across all the
12.
offices?
12.
So 3, so a small percentage of the organization that is your business life can make it so that now you're questioning or doubting. You're forgetting about the fact that it was you, and then you had to hire those 12 people, right? Every person that was at that concert last night, you did a great job with. So people, right. I just think it's interesting that people allow the negative experiences to carry so much more weight than the positive ones. And I'm the same way, but it's like, why don't we say to ourselves when we look in the mirror and we inspire our hustle that, wait, hold on a second. There were 3 bad ones, but what if the next one is the 13th good one or great one?
So you just brought up a point that I've recognized over the last few years about agencies bigger than ours, agencies that have 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, 300 employees that I have kind of noticed from at different times in my life working in different agency offices. A lot of the big agencies, and you hear this term all the time, and I don't know what I think about it, but hire slow, fire fast, right? And the one common denominator that I see with all those agencies, that they take flyers on a lot of people. Like they hire a lot of people.
The hire 20 knowing the 10 are going to be bad, but they can afford that though.
100%.
But they can afford that.
Right. And they get them out fast if they're not a good fit.
Right.
So like you said, they hire 20, or maybe that's not the right number. They hire 10 people knowing that in 6 months, only 3 of those people will be there. But those are 3 damn good people that match their culture, match their intensity, and match what they want to do, right? And there's probably something to that is, hey, you're going to have to catch a lot of fish to get the 3 or 4 that you want to keep and go put on the wall kind of thing. You know what I mean?
100%.
The last thing that I'm obsessed with right now, there's a couple of things I'm obsessed with right now. These people need to write this down. The longer I think about it and the more I think about it, again, we got a great team over here, but the best salespeople I think I've seen in the industry have audacity. They have the audacity to pick the phone up and call somebody out of the blue and say, hey, by the way, I'm about to write your insurance. I don't know that my agency, I guess the best way I can describe what we do over here is we bat about 500. We got a great group. They do a good job. They try to do the right thing for people. They want to help people, but we're a 300 hitter, 250 hitter in the big leagues probably. We're not knocking the cover off the ball, but we're not in the bed either. We're kind of middle of the road. And I would love to, and I was telling Carrie Wallace, Carrie.
Of course.
We've hired her as our fractional CFO over here. And I was in a meeting with her a couple months ago, and I said, Carrie, you know what I think is going to have to happen? And she said, what's that? I said, I think I'm going to have to get back into sales.
That's right.
Because I do have the audacity. I don't give a shit what somebody tells me on the other end of that phone. I do have the sales ability. So what we've been doing over the course of the last 3 months here is taking and outsourcing a lot of the stuff. We've outsourced our payroll. We've outsourced commissions. We've outsourced so many things that we're trying to get enough stuff off of my plate to allow me to start going out there and trying to sell middle market insurance. And I think that's coming probably first of the year.
Well, we got to get reality television on that because that's going to be it's going to be a good show.
I'm horrible at 98% of things, but I'm pretty damn good at selling insurance.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I want to drill back to that and take a step back because you led me to my next question, which is you're talking about getting back into it. You've developed a business over the last number of years. And at some point you had to take that ultimate hustle moment, that moment where there was the wall in front and it was either knock it down or be knocked down by it. And so take us back to that. What was the most pivotal moment in your professional development to get you to where you are today and kind of where your head was at that moment?
Yeah. So I would say there's probably 2 times that I had that moment of what am I going to do and how are we going to get through this? And I think the first moment I had was transitioning from a State Farm associate agent in Birmingham, Alabama, to being a true scratch agent in Huntsville for Nationwide Insurance as a captive, because I had never done something. I always was an associate agent for the couple years I was with State Farm. And my sales manager comes in one day, like the 3rd, 4th day I've been working for Nationwide as a scratch agent, and basically tells me, look, Scott, you're in this program and this is sink or swim. This is sink or swim. Figure it the F out. And that for me was kind of a pivotal moment of knowing at that moment in time, I was about to have to put my big boy britches on and figure it out. And we had each month we had a certain number of policies we had to sell to stay on the program. And I remember towards the end, it got up to where you had to sell like 30 policies in a month. But what they did, they forgot to tell you. And I think there were some lawsuits and maybe one class action lawsuit filed over this. What they forgot to tell all these nationwide scratch agents that came on board was at the end of the month, when you sold those 30 policies, any late pays that you had counted against you.
A negative in the other direction.
Correct. And that was kind of a pivotal moment, was that conversation with her, which was figure it out, it's sink or swim. And it's all on you. It's all on you. I'm not going to be here every day to help you. I'm not going to hold your hand. Figure it the F out. That was the first time.
Before you get to the second show, did you, at that moment, did you think you were going to make it?
Yeah. I just, again, grit, determination.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, maybe. Sometimes in life, ignorance is bliss, and I think I just put my head down and I thought, well, burn the ships. I'm just going to do whatever I have to do to make it through this program, and stay in bounds as far as not doing something unethical. But did I sell policies to a buy here, pay here car lot and stuff like that? Of course I did, because you were doing whatever you had to do to make it, right? But then the second time that this happened again was July 1st of 2020, when I think that was right in the middle of COVID, if I'm not mistaken. Nationwide sent all of their captive agency force independent. And so now all the stuff that you had, all the backstop, all the way Nationwide does things as a captive agent went away, and you're left up to your own devices. And by the way, you're paying for everything. You're paying for your management system. You're paying for your CRM. You're paying for all this stuff. And that was another pivotal moment that we had and here was the kicker and all that, dude, was there were a lot of big decisions that need to be made. And thank God for the Insurance Guys podcast and the relationships I had built over those 2 years, 3 years before that allowed me to pick up the phone and call people like yourself or Chris Paradiso to get some advice on what they thought I should do.
Because they just dropped that on you and was like, forget about sink or swim. It's you're actually in the deep end. There's no,
we're done. You're going independent. Been real, and it was a surreal time frame there. It was an exciting time because we all, I think a lot of us wanted to go in. Not I don't know how many wanted to. Some people wanted to stay nationwide, but I wanted to go independent. I was looking forward to it. I thought it was a great thing. I thought it was, and I think to this day, I think it was a great thing that they did that. Now, were there a lot of people that got out of the business and retired then because they were already kind of at that age where they were ready to do that? Of course, yeah, there were a lot of people sold. But overall, I think it's been a good experience. But you know as well as I do, man, every day is a challenge. Every day something's going to go wrong. Every day some big thing is going on that Scott has to see about or talk to somebody about or whatever. So, it's a constant. It's like being one of those guys that fight wildfires out west, but there's a different wildfire every single day.
And I think you brought up a really interesting point, and that is you had thought about going independent. You actually likely wanted to go independent, but yet when the actual letter hits the desk, when that announcement, or as they say, when the rubber hits the road, right, everybody says they want to go to battle. Everybody says they want to fight the wildfire. But it's that first moment when the training wheels are off, or when you're like, I've thought about this. I thought it was a great idea, but now it's here.
Right.
And that is, in my mind, where real hustle has to come, because it's like, it's akin to, we both have children. So I'll never forget when my oldest daughter was born, and, you read the books, they got the classes, you see other people that have kids, you're around nieces and nephews and things like that. But sorry, I'm getting emotional now, but the moment when you realize, I'll never forget when I held my oldest daughter for the first time, and you're like, I'm responsible for real human life.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
like, there's, you could watch the movies,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's on. And I think that in life, personally and professionally, a lot of people run from that. And,
Yeah.
you said about the wildfires, our good friend Bradley Flowers, about the buffalo, his picture of the
Right.
buffalo in his office. And that's because, and I'm sure he'll talk about this when he's a guest in the podcast, but the buffalo runs into the storm. And I think that it's
Right.
the people who can keep hustling into that storm, personally and professionally, because nobody has a life without storm. Nobody. And so it's just
Nobody.
interesting that to get back to what we were discussing, that like you said you had thought about it and you're actually one of those people that wanted it, but yet you have this like, oh gosh moment
Yeah.
when the rubber hits the road, right?
Well, there's just so much to do. There's just so much to do. There's so much to do when you start an independent agency.
But isn't that
It's
but isn't that part of the charm that like isn't it also somewhat inspiring that you're like, I know people have done it. It's a lot
right.
in life, professionally right now I have a lot going on, but people have done it before me.
Oh, yeah.
And my
Yeah.
coach prepared me for it. Am I a part of me? I don't know if it's the right word, but is it sergeant in the Marine Corps?
Drill instructor. Yeah.
Drill instructor in the Marine Corps? Like
Yeah.
those things, I know I can do it. I just
Mhm.
have to do it.
Right. That's right. No, you're correct. It's just your mind's going 1,000 different directions, and you want to make great decisions because it doesn't matter if you're running Apple or a hedge fund, or you're a plumber, or you're an electrician, or you're an insurance agency owner. A lot of this boils down to making great decisions, great hires, great decisions, seeing about your business, being able to make great decisions. And there was so many decisions to be made that at that time, any one bad decision kind of sets you back a little bit because now you got to change gears and go in a different direction.
And you don't have that safety net.
You don't. No, you don't. But I think that we are in an industry where I don't believe there's a better industry in the world than the insurance industry relative to the people and the brothers and sisters that I have beside me. Guys like Aaron Gordon, David Carruthers, Paradiso. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. Great people willing to help. Pick up the phone on 3:00 on a Wednesday. They're going to answer the phone and they're going to try to help you and help you make a good decision. That's phenomenal.
Dare I say, big industry, small community.
Small community. But on the flip side of that, the ditch on the other end of that road is I don't know of many industries that have as much turmoil, rate changes. By the way, guys, if you hadn't noticed, go stand outside your local Walmart or Target for an hour. And as people walk in, ask them what they think about insurance. People hate insurance until they need insurance.
That's right.
Right? I had a guy, I was walking out of Tractor Supply I guess about a month ago. And the guy said, "Man, you look so familiar to me. What's your name?" I told him my name. "What do you do for a living?" "Well, I own a bunch of insurance agencies." He goes, "Well, man, I'm not going to lie to you. I hate insurance. If I didn't have to have it, I wouldn't have it." People don't like insurance. And they damn sure don't like it when every 6 months to a year they're going up another $400, $500, $600, $800 or $50,000 or $100, depending on what they are doing, what type of insurance it is. And that's tough, man. It's tough to be in a business like that from that side of it, from the side of everyday grit, showing up, consistency. You got to get up and you got to go fight dragons. And that's hard. And a lot of people don't want to do that. And quite frankly, I don't blame them. There's a whole lot of days I don't want to come in here and do this.
But yet you keep hustling.
But you just keep doing it. And, I tell people all the time, somebody that was a vendor of a friend of ours was asking me a bunch of personal questions one day not long ago. And he said, "Scott, tell me your 5-year plan. Tell me your 10-year plan." I said, "Thomas, let me tell you something, buddy. I don't know what my damn 30-day plan is right now, today, because we've had so much turmoil. We're in a hard market. We're playing defense like the 85 Bears right now, and we're just trying to hold on to what we got.
My plan is to still be working with you, vendor, in 6 months.
Correct.
And I'll let you know. And I'll let you know 6 months after that.
100%. 100%. So, these people that want to do these, you got to have a 10-year plan and a 5-year plan. I'm ready to just get a 30-day plan going right now.
Right. How about a 1 week? How about a 1 week, 1 month?
The other thing that I am wildly, wildly interested in right now, and if you've ever seen the movie, Bill Murray's in it, where he's the crazy guy and he goes to the psychologist and he does baby steps to the elevator, baby steps on the elevator, baby steps off the elevator. We are taking baby steps over here to become the gold standard in the insurance industry as far as customer service. And to that point, we are going all the way back, the game Candyland, we're going all the way back to the start. So for the past 4 days, I've probably spent 8 hours on just our phone systems to make sure no call goes unanswered. What I want on the hold and the transfer lines to be correct. Everybody's voicemail is standardized. Our director of first impressions, by the way, we have one. We now have gone in the past day from yesterday to today, as I'm sitting on this podcast, driving here to get on this podcast, I signed a DocuSign to take us from what we were doing to what we now call a queue. And if you're in the queue, that means you've called our main number, and you're going to hear Scott talk about I Protect Insurance for a minute. But the first thing I got to say is something like, thank you for calling I Protect Insurance and Financial Services. Your call will be answered in the order in which it was received, that kind of thing. We're going to get right with the Lord in this agency, and we are going to become blood bleeder blister. If somebody's got to go because of it, then they'll just have to go. We are going to become the number one agency in the United States of America in customer service, one way or the other.
I believe it.
And I may be out of this damn business by the time it's over with, but I am wildly bullish on understanding that nobody likes insurance. Nobody wants insurance. And everybody outside that door, outside those windows right there in the big bad world, wants an Amazon experience. They want it fast, and they want it accurate. So 2 things I talk about: speed and accuracy. Guess what you can't have? You can't have speed and accuracy if you've got a bunch of turnover in your agency, because you're always constantly training somebody, and they're going to make mistakes and they don't know what to do. Then they answer the phone, and instead of being confident that, I don't know.
They're looking back in the playbook instead of looking at the field.
100%. We are going to become the gold standard. Now, that's going to take money. I'm going to have to spend a bunch of money to make sure we are that. It's going to take, so far, probably 8 hours working on that's just our phone system. I hadn't even gotten to it. Today, this morning, we start working on email signatures, direct lines to each employee. Each employee now has a direct line. Now we've got to change all of our email signatures. We've changed our logo so that it looks more professional. All of these things, Mike Stromso says it best. Big doors swing on little hinges.
That's right.
But in my opinion, in the environment that we are in right now today, it is imperative, beyond imperative, that you have the gold standard for customer service. Somebody calls your agency, somebody answers the damn phone, and they sound like Paula Deen and Sweet Tea, not the freaking DMV.
That's right. That's right.
I could pick up this phone right now. We ought to do it because a bunch of people would listen to this. And I could call 10 insurance agencies within a 20-mile area of this. And there'd be a couple of them that would answer it pleasantly. And then there'd be about 6 or 7, 8 of them that answer it like they don't even want to talk to you.
I was visiting a client today, and I happened to notice next to the phone on one of the employees' desk, it said, "Answer the phone with a smile. The person on the other end will feel it." On like a little Post-it on top. And I thought that was interesting. First of all, thank you for that. I think that in the insurance industry and in any industry, the people who are willing to desire to be the best, hustle to be the best, will be the best. And luck comes to those who create the luck, not who just wait for it to come their way. We close this podcast by asking our guests their favorite inspirational or motivational quote, and one that you hark back to when you need to get into the gas tank to drum up some hustle. So what is that for you, Scott Howell?
Well, the one that I've been thinking about a lot lately because of some things that have happened both in my personal life and my professional life, and I don't know that it's super motivational, but the person that said this to me said it to me in 2002. So what was that? 21 years ago, and to this day there are not many days that I don't think about this. But the quote is, and it's one that your listeners have probably never heard before. It goes like this: your friends can forgive you for just about anything except success.
Nobody else can see this right now, but on this pad, if you're watching, I wrote down that quote from you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's sitting on the pad. I didn't write it down now because I couldn't have, because you were in the middle of saying it. And I think that is so profound. And I think that a lot of people forget that when they're choosing their friends.
Right.
And that's, I think I saw a quote similar that's, be careful who you share good news with.
Right.
It can be easy with who you share bad news with.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson said that.
Yeah. Was it?
Be careful who you share good news with.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, Jordan Peterson, exactly. Be careful who you
Yeah.
share good news with. The same thing, because, not a lot of people want to see you succeed, but I can tell you this. I want to see you succeed. And I know, and I can feel it even from the North Pole to the South Pole, that you want to see me succeed. And there's nothing we'll ever have to forgive each other about but that. And I really, really thank you for coming on, being so open and honest. I know that our listeners will enjoy this episode, and I really am grateful for you jumping on this journey with me, for sharing your hustle. And as I end every episode, as my father always used to say, do well by doing good. And of course, always keep hustling. Thank you, Scott.
See you, brother. I love you.
All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. The listeners are the most important part of this show. If you like what you heard, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more listeners. Plus, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have some amazing guests and topics lined up for you, and we don't want you to miss out. And finally, if you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod on Instagram, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We would love to hear from you to continue the conversation. Thanks again for tuning in and supporting our podcast. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.